Redline logbook here to do something I haven't done in a while, and that's explain something from Fairy Tail. In this case, I'm going to be explaining all of Erza's armors. I'm also going to rank them from weakest to strongest, and I'll even rate them on how they look. So first off, quick explanation of Erza's magic. Erza's magic is called Equip Magic, that allows her to summon all the armor and swords that she has held somewhere else, in this case being her bedroom. And they automatically get summoned onto her body or in her hand, wherever she is in the world. Erza can use this magic for all of her clothing, not just her armor, but we're only going to be rating the armor she uses for combat. Alright, so let's get started. Her weakest armor is her seduction armor. Her seduction armor is literally just panties, an apron covering her naked chest, thigh-high stockings, and a sword that says, "Come on, boy." It was never meant to be used in combat at all whatsoever. In fact, Erza specifically says she bought it for, and I quote, personal use. I don't know what that personal use would be, because at this time Jalal's in prison, so your guess is good as mine. As for appearance, I give it a 6 out of 10. Honestly, if you want to see something really sexy, it would have to be Nurse's outfit. That's like the sexiest outfit she has. And if you have clothing that's hotter than the main purpose of your seduction armor, then that means your seduction armor is actually kind of crap. Just saying. Next up is her Robo Yun, and the reason why it's so low on the list is because it's literally just a regular old kimono. It's somewhere spliced between Japanese and Chinese in style, and it doesn't have any special abilities. The fabric is extremely flexible, and the reason why we only see Erza use it once in one battle is the battle against Midnight. Midnight has twist magic, which allows him to twist inanimate objects, including people's clothing, so he just traps you in your own clothes. But because the robe is so flexible, even if it gets twisted, she can just still bend with it. And it doesn't increase Erza's flexibility. No, it's literally just a combat robe with no magical abilities. The only advantage it really gives is the fact that it comes with a bicento. It looks nice. The pattern is kind of bland, so I'll give it like a 5 out of 10. Third from the bottom in strength is an armor that doesn't actually have a name. It can either be called the Goodbye armor or the Farewell armor. It's the one that she uses for ceremonial purposes when a member of Fairy Tail leaves the guild. It literally has no combat ability whatsoever. In fact, the only item that comes with it is a flag, not even a sword. And this flag just has the Fairy Tail emblem on it. It also can fire fireworks. The only reason why it's outranking the other two is because this armor actually is armor that gives protection to the body. So she can actually take a hit in this armor. But other than that, it's more decorative than anything else. Looks-wise, the armor actually looks pretty cool. The only problem is that she has a crown with little antenna things for some reason, and that really hurts the cred of it. And so at best, I'd have to give this like a 7 out of 10. Next up is there's Hartkrut's armor. The Hartkrut literally just means cross, and there's two reasons for that. One, there's a cross on the chest plate where her heart would be. This is actually Erza's day-to-day wearing armor, the one that you see her in at the beginning all the way to the end of the series. And the reason for this is because she had it custom made from the Hartkrut's fashion company just for her. They usually do clothing. You'll see it in actually other Hira Marshma works. But Erza had them personally customize a suit of armor for her. As such, this armor doesn't actually have any special magical abilities, but it is the first proper set of armor where she uses it in combat. It's very reliable, and it allows Erza full range of movement. Now, because these are custom-made armors from a fashion company, she keeps buying a new version every time it comes out, and so I'll just rank each one in appearance. Version 1, I give an 8 out of 10. It's got a very medieval/dragon scale armor style to it. Version 2, I get a 4 out of 10. It has a very fairy aesthetic to it, but that fairy aesthetic is very ugly. Version 3, I also give it a 4. It's just plain. There's nothing stylistic about it at all. Version 4 is the first armor. I'm giving it 10 out of 10. It has that proper knight aesthetic that she's going for, and it's very sexy. And I give version 5 a 8 out of 10. Because it also represents probably the best knight aesthetic Erza's going for. It just lost the sex appeal. Our next armor is the Thousand's Arms armor. This armor also doesn't give her any magical abilities, but it allows her to control 6 arms at once. 2 of her own, plus 2 mechanical ones. Funny thing is, this armor wasn't originally meant for combat. It was actually used primarily during Fairy Tail's many festivals. Basically, it's meant for putting on performances. And she can control the arms independently. So just like how you can pat your head and rub your stomach at the same time, she can do 6 separate things at the same exact time, which is why it's stronger than all the armors below her on this list that don't have any magical abilities, because it literally gives her the ability to fight with 6 swords at once. Normally that wouldn't really matter much in a sword fight, but the fact is, when you're a master swordsman like Erza, well then 6 swords at once, that's pretty devastating. In fact, she even has a named attack for it. Appearance-wise, I give it an 8 out of 10. Very cool looking, very sexy. Next up is Giant Armor. The Giant Armor is the first armor that actually gives Erza magical properties. This armor helps her with projectiles, specifically throwing. Anything she throws with armor gets increased power and accuracy. Basically, if she has a target far away and she needs to make sure to hit it pinpoint on, this is the armor to do it. Plus, this armor also comes with a weapon, the Mavolo Lance, which has two abilities. One, it has thrusters on it, so it can increase its power, speed, and range. Basically, it complements the armor's already ability to do that, and it has the ability to nullify and destroy evil. The example given is when Erza was able to destroy the miasma left over from the Moondrip spell. Appearance-wise, I give it a 7 out of 10. It has very much an Oni appearance. It's a good aesthetic to have. Next armor is Heaven's Wheel. This armor gives her telekinetic abilities that allow her to 1. Fly, and 2. Control weapons without touching them. The most weapons she's ever controlled at once are actually 200. And once again, this is Erza, a master swordsman, so she doesn't just wildly throw them around. She's actually able to pinpoint target every single one of them in a swing, a stab, a slash, whatever she needs it to be. While she did max out with 200 swords once, she normally fights with only 20, counting the 2 she's holding in her hand, so I suppose it's 22. Now, that's not as impressive as the 200, as, like I said before, but still, finding someone who can attack you with 22 different swords in all directions, because, once again, she's controlling them telekinetically. As such, she has complete dominance of the area that she's fighting in. As for the appearance, I give it a 10 out of 10. This armor is beautiful. It's really cool looking, it's very sexy, and once again, it's so very feminine-like that it just fits Erza's personality, where she's a tomboy, but also a girly girl at the exact same time. Next up is a tie between 4 different armors, because they literally do the exact same thing with different elements. Flame Empress armor, Sea Empress armor, Thunder Empress armor, and Wind God armor. Each of these armors' ability is to reduce damage from a specific element by 50%, but each armor can only reduce one element's ability. So the Flame Empress armor get hits with a fire attack, it reduces that flame attack by 50%. But if it gets hit with a water, lightning, or really any other elemental attack, Erza will take 100% of the damage. And each one of these armors has its own sword to go along with it to give her that elemental. So the Flame Empress armor has a fire sword, Water Empress has a water sword, Thunder Empress has a lightning spear, and the Wind God has a wind sword. Now, all elemental damage might be cut in half, but there's still an upper limit for these armors, because when she used her Thunder Empress armor against Loxus, in a single attack, he shattered her armor. Now, that attack technically was cut in half, but it was so powerful, it was literally double the power that the armor could handle. Which is why I say double, because you have to do that to destroy the armor, because it will cut that power in half. So if you do double the power that the armor can handle, then you hit the point of 100% what the armor can handle and it will shatter. And Luxus did that in a single attack. So ranking all the armors, I give the Flame Empress 8 out of 10. Out of the 4, it's the most aesthetically pleasing to look at. I give the Lightning Empress armor a 6 out of 10. Very nice, got a very Chinese aesthetic to it. The Wind God, I give it a 3 because it's just the ugly clothing. There's really nothing unique or special about it. And depending on how it's colored, I give the Sea Empress either a 4 or a 5. A 4 if it's in the anime, but a 5 for the manga, because in the manga, it has more color to it. Like there are things of blue and aqua and other shades to it. It's not just pure green vomit. Next up is the Black and Red Twin armor. This armor gives Erza 2 swords, a black one and a red one, and they basically just amplify her attacks. It also gives her the ability to air slashes, kind of like 2 Getsu Kazenchos, one black and one red. And for extra power on top of that, she can then combine the 2 swords into one giant sword and do one massive attack. Once again, very similar to a Getsu Kazencho. Appearance-wise, it's a 10 out of 10. It has a bunny girl knight aesthetic to it. It's actually very pleasing to the eyes. Up next is her flight armor. Her flight armor's magical ability is to increase her speed. In fact, the increase in speed is actually pretty massive because Erza was under the effects of Razor's slow magic, and once she put on this armor, she was then able to keep up with him. That means it doubled, if not tripled, her speed. And that's pre-time skip. The way her armor works is the stronger she is, the more magic she put into it, the more powerful her magical armor is. The only weakness is that it's actually low on defense because it's literally just a bikini and bottom. Of course, the idea is if you can't catch her, you can't hit her. Appearance-wise, I give it a 7 out of 10. Up next is her jousting armor. This armor is literally just a suit of plate armor, like bronze-ish, with a giant lance. It's solely built around piercing. And when I say piercing, I mean Erza used this one time during the Tartarus arc, where she was able to stab Kyoko through the cube. And when I say through the cube, I mean multiple layers of the cube in one thrust. That's how powerful this armor is. And yet we never see it again after this. Just that one stab and then move on. Appearance-wise, I gotta say, 9 out of 10. I really do like the bronze statue aesthetic of the armor. We finally made it to Erza's elite armor. These are the ones that are her strongest, that are meant to destroy her enemy, starting with the Purgatory armor. The Purgatory armor is definitely the weakest of her elite armors because it's literally the one used as an example of how strong the enemy is, because every time she pulls it out, it immediately gets wrecked. When Erza first used this armor, she said there's no one alive who has ever seen this armor and told the tale of it, and then it immediately gets destroyed. The armor obviously increases all of her stats, and it also, she carries it on a giant mace with spikes on it. It basically is just destructive power personified, but once again, it's there to show how strong the enemy is. Looks wise, I give it like a 7 out of 10. It's got too many spikes for me. This is going to surprise a lot of people because they probably would think it would be higher, but next up is actually the Adamantite armor, which is her strongest defense. This armor is based solely around defense and blocking attacks. It was able to block the Jupiter Can. It was able to block an attack from Mitsuki, someone on par with Guild Arts. It is a powerful armor. The only issue is it is completely defensive, so you can't really attack with it. As for the appearance, I give it a 9 out of 10. I really do like this armor. It is very clean. Next up is the Heteroxic armor. This armor is quite fascinating because it allows her the ability to telekinetically control 8 swords. So you would think this would be a downgrade from Heaven's Wheel, but it's not, because these swords specifically have 2 major abilities. 1, they're massive, and so they're able to just block all attacks coming at Erza. And 2, and this is the major one, they cut only what Erza wants to cut. They phase through armor, clothing, any form of protection, and hit her target on the other side, which means even using someone as a shield wouldn't even work because the sword would just phase through that person and cut the bad guy. This armor is like the bane of her Adamantite armor. Looks wise, I give it a 10 out of 10. I really like this armor. The swords in a ready state stay behind her like a pair of wings, and so she really looks like a Valkyrie on the battlefield. Next up is her Morningstar armor. This armor gives her power over light. So it's another elemental armor, but it's stronger than all the others because it is literally a suit of light speed lasers firing from it. It can also blind the enemy, but let's be honest, the lasers are more important. And once again, the stronger it is, the stronger her armor is, which means those laser blasts could blow away planets. As far as look, it is a 0 out of 10. It is ugly. Just straight garbage. There's nothing appealing about this whatsoever. And it even makes her hair look stupid, which is kind of a big deal because that hair is where she got her name from after all. Okay, up next is her Blackwing armor. Her Blackwing armor is the armor she chooses whenever she needs to fight a powerful opponent, because what this armor does is it gives her flight, but it also just magnifies all of her stats incredibly high. It's like the Purgatory armor, but just better in every way, which is why you'll see it constantly used in almost every fairy tale fight with Erza, because anytime she's taking on a big boss, she's going to whip this thing out. Aesthetic-wise, I give it a 9 out of 10. The Demonic Fairy really looks good on her. Next up is the Heavenly Body Magic armor. This armor gives her the ability to use Heavenly Body Magic, which is a Law's magic. Now, she's only ever used this armor once in the movie, but the movies are canon. We know that because of the 100 Years Quest, which means this armor is canon, and at any point, if she felt like it, she can use Grand Chariot to just obliterate her enemies. She can also use Meteor to increase her speed and attack power, and literally everything else that Jalal does, which is overpowered. As for the look, this is a 10 out of 10, and if you have to ask why, you're blind. You're blind in every sense of the word. We're in the top 3 strongest armors, and number 3 is the Armadura Fairy. This armor is just like the Purgatory and the Blackwing, where it amplifies all abilities, but this one does it the most. Even Nightwalker couldn't deny the fact that this armor was that powerful. In fact, this was the armor used by Erza when she was fighting Nightwalker to end that fight. Their attacks collided, destroying the island that they were on, destroying this armor, and destroying Nightwalker's spear, ending the fight. It's also able to produce a green energy that's able to just be projectiled outward. Unlike a normal laser beam, this has the ability to be manipulated in a way to cover an entire area. So the attack isn't just a pinpoint laser, it is a destructive force that obliterates everything around it. That's why it blew up an island. The second stronger armor she has is her clear heart clothing. Now, most people think this is just normal clothing with a wrapping around her chest, but it's not. It's an actual armor that does have a specific ability. It takes any magic power she would have in defense and channels it completely in offense. So she's making herself as vulnerable as humanly possible to make her sword strikes the strongest they can be. Any katana she uses to fight with this armor is infused with every ounce of Erza's pure magic power for the purposes of cutting down her enemy. And the armor got an upgrade during the 100 Years Quest arc when she received 2 swords enchanted, one with Natsu's Fire Dragon Slayer magic and one with Gray's Ice Demon Slayer magic. So now Erza now has her insane attack potential combined with Natsu and Gray's magical power. Look-wise, I give it a 9 out of 10, mostly because this is a very iconic look. When people think of Erza, they usually think of this armor she's wearing right after she defeated 100 monsters and just covered in blood, holding her sword up in victory. And of course, Erza's strongest armor is her Nakagami armor, obviously. This armor is broken in every fucking way possible. The armor nullifies all magic that comes in contact with it, so it doesn't matter if you're trying to attack her, enchant her, curse her, whatever. If it's magic based, as soon as it touches her, poof, it's gone. Your spell did absolutely nothing to her. She was completely unaffected. Not just that, but it also comes with a Basento. And what is the magic ability of the Basento? It can cut anything, including space. So when I say it can cut anything, I mean she literally has Kampachi's power from Bleach, where she can literally cut anything. It doesn't matter. The Basento can do that. So you cannot protect yourself from this attack. You cannot counter her with another attack. You can't do anything. She is going to hit you with that Basento, and you are going to be cut. Plain and simple. And the only weakness of this armor is that it uses up a lot of magic power. The only thing is, even back during the Grand Magic Games, it only used up half of Erza's power, because she only used one origin. Which means, now, odds are Erza can use that thing anytime she wants. She just doesn't for some reason. I guess it would make the story too easy. But still, this armor just busted. Image-wise, 10 out of 10. This armor is badass, it's cool looking, it's sexy as hell. Everything about this armor is just gorgeous to look at. 100% beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, that was all of Erza's armors explained, ranked, and also judged based on appearance. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, give it a thumbs up so you enjoy more Fairy Tail and other my things. Thank you and have a great day.